Let's ride.
My character in the movie may be able to see the future. I also can. And I know what the future brings. I know that when you see Madam Web, you're gonna love it. In fact, I think you're gonna see it twice.
Thoughts?
I actually kind of like the movie.
Are you serious? This is great. Okay, great. Okay, I'm happy to hear that.
I did, and on a very very superficial level, yes. I don't think it's the train wreck that everybody is making it out to be by any means.
Really?
I mean, you're gonna.
Okay.
I mean, so I assume you didn't like the movie.
No, I would like to hear your justification, then I'll jump in because I was actually expecting it to be better. Like, because everyone was hating on it. I'm like, okay, this is obviously an easy punching bag. Everyone's hating on it. But I was actually shocked at how bad I thought that it was. But go ahead.
Really? Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it on a level that you would enjoy a B movie. Okay. Going back to, we've had discussions about how, in our younger days, in our youth, we enjoyed movies like, Fantastic Four or
Ghost Rider,
or I mean, even Catwoman
Blade,
on
the series.
on a certain level,
sure.
Yeah,
totally. To take you back.
To be honest with you, I've seen so much worse in the last year alone. I don't think anyone can sit here and tell me that this movie is worse than The Flash or Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I mean, I don't think there's any way you can justify saying that. Those movies were almost unwatchable.
That's astounding to me that you would say that. Because I haven't seen those movies, but I can't imagine they'd be worse than this. For me,
they're way worse. And I'll tell you why. Those movies are over bloated, overstuffed with everything. They make no sense on a logical, plot based track. Their plots are convoluted and nonsensical. The special effects in those movies look like they weren't even finished. Okay. And those movies also hold the distinction of trying to be A-list movies. Okay. Those are trying to be top tier A movies and they fail at them miserably. Okay.
I mean, this is not even
trying.
January. Yeah.
Sure. This is not even trying. This is trying to be like a B level pulp kind of like throwaway matinee. Okay. And on that level, I think it's like passable. It's something you would watch on TV.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, was something you'd watch on television. But here's the thing. Can I play one more clip and then I'll unload on my grievances here?
Sure.
The comic drawings that I saw of Julia, which was always upside down, feet together, very ballet aerialist moves. So I begged and begged and begged to have my character drop from the ceiling because that's just what Julia would have done. I have a lot of photos of me just hanging upside down, just waiting for action.
That was me sitting right side up, but waiting for action because this fucking movie's boring as shit. And like the fact that they promoted this film with a bunch of Spider Girls all over the place in the commercials is straight up fraud. I mean, it is fucking fraud, dude. They dress these girls up in spider costumes for a fucking dream sequence, and they market the entire movie with that 2 minutes. Yeah. It's astounding to me. And it's astounding to me too, not just that it was mismarketed, but that when like they were shooting those scenes that no producer walked in and was like, why is this shit not the whole fucking movie?
That I agree with you.
Why can't we have a Spider Girl movie? You've got Sydney Sweeney, like the hottest. She's such a hot actress that she revived the romantic comedy for the first time in like 7 years and made a giant hit just because she was in it and the guy from Top Gun, right? Yep. And then this was probably made, I don't know, 3 fucking years ago and sat on a shelf and they fucked with it, in the editing, which you could tell this thing's been edited to death because there were a million moments where they like cut this guy here and fucking CGI and move this shit around. And like, okay, do you want to start at the top on this?
Okay. So 2 points on what you just said. So number one, yeah, and I will agree that the lack of Sydney Sweeney's screen time in this movie is appalling. And number two, there's no sex appeal at all because
she's playing
a teenager. She's playing a teenager here. So they button her up and everything is just like very, very like, hey, hands off. So that's a negative. Two, I agree about the superhero part of it. This is not really a superhero movie.
No.
In and of itself. It's kind of like a thriller, mystical kind of thing. I just don't.
But they have a guy running around in an evil Spider-Man costume the whole time.
Yeah,
like, why the fuck is he dressed like an evil Spider-Man?
Well, because they thought that his other outfit was too lame. I don't know. I didn't need him to be in the Spider-Man outfit, to be honest with you.
Is this an actual character from the comics?
Ezekiel Sims. Yeah, that goes back to, that was right around the time I started getting back into Spider-Man, reading it on a monthly basis. That was when J. Michael Straczynski was writing Amazing Spider-Man, and he introduced all this weird other stuff into the mythology that had to do with like mystical spider totems that gave people powers.
That's cool.
No, it's not. It's super lame. It was basically trying to like retcon the origin of Spider-Man, to say that the thing wasn't based on like a science fiction based thing. It was more like a mystical aspect to his origin. And then it was kind of like undone by the end. But Ezekiel had spider powers. I don't remember how he got them. It was some mystical way. But yeah, that's why he walks around barefoot. That's what he does in the comics. That's
I noticed that. The villain was so bad in this, dude. Like, we must kill them. I had a dream that I was going to be killed by 3 spider women. Now, I mean, I was just like, you got to be shitting me. And he's like, I've hacked into the NSA, dude. Oh, dude, can you fucking, I was like, I couldn't believe it when he had the girl there whose job was to be on the computer the whole time. And he's like, she's like, based on your description of your dream, these are the people you're looking for. Excellent.
Hey, that's no lamer or worse than the plot of the last Mission Impossible movie.
I didn't see that either, and no one else did.
That was basically the plot of that too, is that they're having the super chip for the
I don't even know where to start with this, dude. Actually, I was gonna like talk about what I liked, but now that you said you like this, I have to be the guy to fucking unload on this thing. But I mean, do you want to start from the top here of the movie? So it starts out with which I thought was actually kind of cool. Dakota Johnson's mom is studying Amazon in the forest, right? Spiders right before she died, right?
Yeah. While she's pregnant, like 9 months pregnant.
Yeah, and she gets killed by Ezekiel Sims because he wants the magic spider for himself, right?
Yeah.
And then she gets captured by these, or taken in like by these Amazonian spider people, who I thought looked kind of cool, by the way. And they like fly her through the forest, and then they put her in like a magical healing pool, but she dies, but her child lives. And then they give her back to America somehow, and she goes into the foster system, and then we meet her in present day as a jaded EMT who like.
Can
all that banter.
Right, can I stop you right there? That was all the stuff that I hated the most. Anything that had to do with the Amazon rainforest, anything that had to do with mysticism, I was like, boring, checked out.
Yeah, but I mean, like there was like they were like look cool, like they were dressed like spider people and stuff, and like it kind of looked good. I thought that was all right.
Sure. On some level, we cut to. I hate stuff like that. I hate stuff interjecting that kind of stuff into this mythology, which it has no place in.
Well, yeah, and the other thing too that bothered the shit out of me, this is supposed to be a prequel to Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, correct? I mean, I know that like Marvel's watching this like, like tied to a chair, watching them like brutalize their baby, and they're just like, as they make horrible decisions, like, introducing into Spider-Man's mom. Poor Emma Roberts, boy, I thought she was going to go places, but now she just has to play these put upon roles of like the woe-begotten pregnant woman being passed around in action sequences, but like. Dude, and then we get to the modern day Cassie, played by Dakota Johnson, and her and Adam Scott's like work banter was like so bad, dude. It was fucking horrible, man. It was so bad. I couldn't believe it. Right? Did you enjoy that?
I'm enjoying it on a camp level. I mean, you have to take a certain amount of grain of salt with this. This is trying to be like a trash movie at a certain point. I mean, like I don't think you can't enjoy it on that level.
Okay, so
sorry.
I
don't want to be the one to like
you keep rolling.
I don't want to be like, oh man, this movie was great. It wasn't. It was just like I had an okay time watching it.
Here's my problem with your critique is you're like, oh, this is like a good B movie or whatever, and it's like, yeah, it could have been if they had gave us like 5 Spider Girls running around kicking ass and like being hot, but they didn't do that at all. Like, and they could have, and they like. Had the idea to dress them up in spider costumes to be in a dream sequence. It's like, here's what you do. Remember that? Okay, so I say that basically this movie is about Dakota Johnson. She figures out she has these sort of like precognitive, what do you call this?
Yeah,
powers,
clairvoyance.
Like, clairvoyance, like Madam Web in the comics. And she starts seeing like things happen before, like little flashes in her brain, which by the way, I thought were when things repeat, and she's like, what? You just said that. What are you talking about? Whoa. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was very annoying and like spastic and disorienting. And the only time it worked was with the pigeon in the window, where she sees a vision of a pigeon hitting a window and dying. It goes away. She opens the window, the pigeon flies in. So it's sort of like Terminator, fate is not set sort of thing, right? Where it's like, oh, I can change the future. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I liked how it also, though, it helped show her personality as kind of like a spaz and a like just a weirdo, like borderline personality disorder, kind of like
Yeah, I don't
where
buy
she's
that
in
because
social situations, just socially awkward about everything.
I hate that because she's a very attractive woman. So it's like she would not be like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that moment, Ryan, when like the girl's like, "Here's a painting because the little child hands her a drawing," and she's like, "Thanks for saving my mom," and she's like, what am I supposed to do?" You know what I mean? And he's like, "Just take the painting." Thanks, right? Okay, a real jaded person would this is what if I'm a screenwriter and I read that, I would go, "This is fucking terrible," right? Now, when she first goes, "What? What are you talking about? Who?" That makes sense because this is a job for them, right? It's like Bringing Out the Dead, Scorsese. You ever see that movie? Highly underrated Scorsese film with Nicolas Cage. But like to be jaded to this idea of people dying and you shuttling them around all the time, right? But like she should have been like, "Oh, thank you very much," and then like she walks away and crumples it up and throws it in the trash, right? And then you get an idea of like this
But that's
person
not
is
her
jaded.
personality, though. That's not her
Yeah, but
personality in the movie.
there's not a human being on earth that would like make a show of that. They'd say, "Oh, thanks very much," then throw it in the trash. They wouldn't be like,
I've met some people.
what?
I've met some people that would act like that. For
People that I
sure.
wouldn't want to meet and would not like.
Well, I didn't say that part, but you know,
Well, that's
I've
my
met
main
them.
character. And then when they sit and eat Chinese food and he's like, "Their printer's broke. We could never eat here again." And you know what? I gotta tell you, Ryan, I'm in a theater, 75% full. You sent me a photo where your theater was empty and you're like, "What a
0.
dog this movie is." My theater busy, and people were fucking laughing, boy. They were laughing their ass off. They thought this movie was very funny. All the banter with the girls where they were like, "I never even liked you to begin with." People were fucking laughing their ass off.
Were
This
they
is a
laughing in
funny
a
movie.
ironic
Oh no.
way,
No.
or
No. Because it wasn't irony bros there. It was like an old
yeah,
50
then you know
characters from
you're just
Roseanne.
an elitist snob, you know. It's like
I am.
you
Sorry.
know you gotta step it down, dial it down a bit here, you know.
It was like John Goodman and Roseanne, like out and their kids, like you know what I'm saying? And they thought it was very entertaining and good. What next? Oh, okay. So she starts
Okay,
having visions. She's
wait,
gonna get
before,
killed by this guy.
okay, so you mentioned Adam Scott as Ben, her friend, who turns out to be
Terrible.
Ben Parker. That made me roll my eyes, like, oh God, we're gonna do this again. Because I can't stand in these movies where everyone knows each other, every part of a character's history is linked together through people they all knew in their past and stuff. So, and I thought it was going to get much worse than that. It actually mitigated itself, I thought, by the end, because they didn't do the super face palming, eye rolling reveals, which would have been like when she's asking Ben about, "Oh, you got a new girlfriend, a new lady friend," and he didn't be like, "Yeah, her name's May," you know, like that. Right. And then what's the baby's name? What's the baby's name? And they're at the end of the movie, they did not do the thing which I was expecting, which is like, his name is Peter Parker.
Could you imagine having to sit through that?
What?
You know what though? The fact that they didn't say it is even worse because then every fucking nerd ass goddamn Funko Pop collector is just leaning over to his friends going, that's actually Spider-Man's mom. It's amazing. I'm like, horrible.
Did that happen or not? I don't know.
Oh, I know it happened. She goes on the subway, then she has a vision that a guy in an evil Spider-Man costume is going to come kill her and 3 other girls, right? Now, the thing I didn't like about this being a prequel set in 2003, which, by the way, it's the most lazy 2003 period piece I've ever seen, right? I don't even know if people are going to be able to do period pieces of the 2000s because nothing has changed. We live in a stagnant culture. But like 2003, the only reason we know it's 2003 is because there's no cell phones and they play like Third Eye Blind music in the background when people are walking around.
Toxic by Britney Spears.
Yeah. And like shit like Two Princes by like Spin Doctors and stuff. But like
that was like 10 years old at that point or 12 years old. I mean, that was not
2003
stuff. Yeah, that's from the early 90s.
Right.
Okay, let me look through my notes here. You continue and then I will.
So, Incel Heidegger says it was originally set in the 90s. They changed it in post. Is that right?
It didn't look like the 90s either. So it looked like current day, pretty much.
Looked like right now. Yeah. And then she has these visions, evil Spider-Man, which is dumb because so in this prequel universe, Spider-Man Peter Parker based his costume off this guy.
I don't think so. I don't think they're going.
Well, why do they have such similar costumes? Is there some like unified hive mind of the spider, like totem legacy sort of thing that people have been spider people for 1,000 years and like they come out of the Amazon? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I think they were just being lazy, to be honest with you.
You're being lazy, and they realized they needed somebody in a costume running around in the superhero movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we get a Terminator style movie where this girl, Aaron Taylor Johnson, whatever the fuck her name is like
who?
You know, the main gal.
Dakota Johnson?
Dakota Johnson, yeah. She's like she becomes like a sort of Kyle Reese for these 3 girls that are targeted by this Terminator style evil Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't really work because she doesn't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. So she keeps doing stupid things. Whereas like a Kyle Reese knows exactly what the villain is, what to do, and how to survive, right? She has no fucking clue.
Sure.
So she's just like, let's just go.
That's how you create more stupid plot holes for the movie to wander into, though, and have.
I mean, this shit was like The Hobbit. Like she was Gandalf and just like dropping them places and going somewhere. Like she drops him in the forest and is like, okay, I'll be right back. I got to go look in my mom's notebook, right? And like fall down a wall and then come back when you guys walked into a diner where that wasn't some kind of like roadhouse biker bar. I'd have no idea why it needed to be a diner. I don't know. I think it's because the guy that directed this was like, oh, I want old 50s neon shit in here. Cause she had a lot of that going on. Right. And I don't, yeah. And then she leaves again to go to Peru to discover the secret of her. Which, by the way, and she's like, oh, these 3 girls, they're being actively hunted by this maniacal evil villain. Why don't you stay with my highly vulnerable pregnant sister-in-law or whatever, right? And I'm going to go to Peru. The correct thing to do was to bring those girls to Peru, right? Yes. And then what you do, if I'm the script doctor, I'm looking at this dog shit, I come in here and I go, no hot girls in spider costumes at the end, right? No, they're just in a fireworks factory, a Pepsi Cola commercial. And I would say, okay, they all 4 of them go to the Amazon, and then she falls into the water and is like having her Doctor Strange trip out moment. And all the girls are like, what do we do? She's dying. And they go, don't get in the magic water because you will be cursed with spider powers as well. And they go, oh, well, I don't care. And they jump in, they all come out and they all have spider powers, right? Ta-da. Then they go fight the bad guy at the 3rd act. Easy fix. When she was fucking rolling in there with Stephen Hawking with fucking glasses on, I was just laughing my ass. I couldn't believe they did that. She's like, "Hello, Harry." I was blown the fuck away because I've never
seen the future look so bright or something like that, right? Isn't he?
Dude, this is not a character like Professor X who people know and are like, "Oh yeah, he's in a wheelchair." So like when he gets crippled at the end, you're like, "Oh, that's interesting." It's like, what? Like if I was the regular person in the audience, I'd be like, "She's blind and in a wheelchair now? What the fuck?" Right?
Yeah, there's high stakes to the movie, you know?
Dude, this movie sucked. Because it was also kind of surprising to me how politically it was not woke.
It was not woke. It was not woke at all.
It was like made in a vacuum and like in like a vault somewhere. You know what I mean?
I wrote, it reminded me not only of the early and mid 2000s superhero movies, but some of those really, really crappy 70s and 80s Marvel movies that we were watching earlier. That's what it felt like to me. And I enjoyed it on the same level that I enjoyed Captain America 2, Death Too Soon, and whatever else, the thing like that. I'm not saying they're good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying I don't get it that, yeah, it's bad, but like,
my issue is that it could have been a better bad movie. Like my script change of all 3 of them jumping into the water and getting spider powers, that's really stupid and terrible, right? But at least it gets you 3 spider girls running around being cute at the end, right? Which we did not get.
Yeah, you know, I would have liked to have seen.
But by the way, dude, the bad guy, one of the worst I've seen in a long time. Horrible. And his little like computer girl, I have spent a lot of money on this technology. Use it better.
Was he dubbed? Was he dubbed?
It sounded like it, yeah.
Okay.
Dude, these 3 girls, they kill me. I must kill them before. I'm like, are you shitting me? I'm like, this is so stupid. You know, like I don't know, man.
I don't think the motivation was that. I would have liked to know what his actual motivation though beyond that was. What is he doing otherwise? Like what is his operation? What does he
what does he do? Yeah, he just hangs out and he has like a Chloe from 24 like fucking around on a computer for him. Boy, brother,
I didn't mean to like oversell it. I would not recommend this movie to people unless you know that you're going to like a movie like this. And there are people that know. So if you like, I think like this is the same level that I like the Underworld and Resident Evil movies. Those movies are also garbage, but like well made garbage. So
I just, man, I felt
I
like
don't know.
if they gave me this movie, I would have made something for daddy, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure, there's a lot of lost potential here, but I don't think the end product is as hyperbolically bad as people are making it out to be.
I came in hot because I was expecting it to be better and it was worse. Like I was saying, okay, everyone's saying this is dog shit. It's probably fine. They want to do the memes, right? But then
Yeah.
I found myself astounded at how poor I thought that it was, and just all the missed opportunities. And I was just, I just, you know, again, advertising Sydney Sweeney in this little Spider-Man costume, and then not giving us that. I was just shocked, right? But hey, I read the first two appearances of Madam Web and Amazing Spider-Man before we started this.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah, in
Jeez.
Spider-Man 210 and 216.
Do you mean this?
No, you possess?
Of course.
What did it cost
I
you?
bought this like I don't know.
$50?
Well, it's marked at $10, so it
Okay.
means that I probably bought it for $5. I don't know.
Both this,
I'm
I would
thinking
say the
probably like
early.
15, 20 years ago, probably at this point.
I need to read more of those early '80s Spider-Man comics because they were really good. The two issues I read with Madam Web, and I thought
This
she
is
was an
Denny
interesting,
O'Neill's
cool
time
character.
on Spider-Man, so it's
He rocks
pretty
it, dude.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. The second appearance, have you read that one, 216?
I don't have that one. The other one that I do have are
Cool.
her other, probably the only other significant story that she's in is the Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut two-parter.
Okay. No, I'll have to read those because I thought she was an interesting character, and I thought that by introducing her, they had she was an interesting new element of his milieu, right? And I don't know what they're planning on doing with this shit. Are they going to hire an
Nothing.
older? Yeah, nothing. You're right. It's
Dead,
going to
dead
just
on
go in,
arrival.
it's going to go in a bin.
Dead
It's
on
done.
arrival. This movie.
It's making some money though, isn't it?
No, it's. I mean, it's the Bob Marley movie's doing much better, which I wanted to see probably before this.
Yeah,
one,
I was
to
in
be
line at the
honest with you.
bar. I wouldn't have mentioned one more thing about the movie is that it was directed by, I can't remember her name, but I thought for the most part it was like, you know, bad line readings, like serviceable. I thought there were moments that showed some like filmmaking heft. Like I really enjoyed that scene where Cassie has to go save the flipped over car that's hanging off the edge of the bridge, and you get the car pulls in and she opens the door, grabs her bag, and like I thought that was well done, and I was interested in that sequence. But for the most part, I thought that it was kind of a blandly shot movie. But I did notice that every time a car pulled out of anywhere, like it was like amazing. Like they had like a camera on like a crane, and when they pulled out of that diner, it was like and I'm like, dude, like every time there was insert shots or anything like that, it was impeccable. So I was like, who's the second unit director on this? He's a guy named Darren Prescott. Okay. He was a second unit on Black Widow, Black Panther, Baby Driver, Ford versus Ferrari, and Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive. So this dude's the real deal. I mean, he's got
He
a lot
got
of shit
demoted
going
for this, huh?
I would say so. But he did inject a lot of sort of like editing juice where there wasn't any, because sometimes in the film I did like transition scenes. Like there's a moment where the bad guy tarantula, like, which by the way, why wouldn't they just make him like the tarantula or something? You know what I mean? Like why did he
They
have to
chose
be?
Ezekiel. I don't know why. It has nothing to do with anything.
He pulls his car out. She pulls her car into the forest where she left them to like talk about nothing.
She was also a huge part of the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s, which was like my bread and butter growing up. That show like rocked my world for comics and Spider-Man at the time. And she was introduced in the third season as his like mystical guide. She came onto the scene and was like, I'm going to train you and prepare you for this big battle that you're going to experience. And like along the way, she was very sarcastic, very quippish. She had a real personality to her, unlike the movie, which is like bland. She was voiced by Joan B. Lee, who was the wife of Stan Lee, actually, which is an interesting.
Is that
tidbit.
right?
Yep. And they have a falling out at the end of the season due to some shenanigans with the Green Goblin. And then at the end of the series, she comes back and recruits him to fight in the Secret Wars.
What do you mean you want to end our relationship?
Just what I said. I don't have time for your games anymore. Because right now, I have everything I ever wanted. Mary Jane loves me, and I love her. This big battle you say you're training me for, I'm not interested. My life is complete.
Complete, is it? Have it your way, Spider-Man. One day you will yearn for the wisdom of Madam Web. And that day will come soon when the two-headed monster rises from the netherworld.
See,
That's cool.
I mean, the character has a lot of flair, a lot of style, a lot of charisma. There's some definite banter back and forth, and all of that's lost here.
Yeah, it's a weird. I mean, if they had introduced Madam Web as an old lady, like in a Spider-Man movie, and then made this. I wanted to talk about the press tour surrounding this movie because I think Dakota Johnson is embarrassed of it, which, and she's like, oh, I'm not going to see it. Maybe I'll see it someday. Ha ha ha. And I'm like, that's just, I made a post about how like Arnold Schwarzenegger would get on Jay Leno and be like, End of Days is the best movie I've ever made, because like he was a professional and he wanted to sell his shit and not fuck over everyone who like gave him a shot and paid him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I just don't understand. Like, you read the script, lady. Like maybe sometimes though they don't. I mean, maybe the way that they pitch, these movies is just, hey, you're going to be in this is a big thing. Sony's putting a lot of money behind this. They're going to do multiple movies. They want you in it. Yes or no? And then you say yes, and then you get the script later and you go, oh shit. Right? Think that's how that works?
Yeah, they're like, hey, we're going to put you in a Marvel movie, Spider-Man affiliated Marvel movie. It's just the origin one for now, but later on you'll be with Spider-Man in that movie, and that'll be huge for your career.
And then I think maybe they looked at this and were like, well, there's some girl appeal here. We could make this like a girl movie, Also, by the way, this week, I think the idea of the premiere has been shattered a little bit because we see Dakota Johnson looking hot with Sydney Sweeney at the premiere. But then she said she didn't see the movie. So like, what do people do at these premieres? Do they go take photos and just leave? And then Zendaya showed up at Dune 2. Yeah, dressed like Barbarella, and it's like, did she sit down and watch the movie in that outfit? I guess not. So what's going on at these premieres, dude? This is all a shame. But I don't know. It's too bad. And I saw her on SNL, and she said, "Oh, Madam Web is like if AI made your boyfriend's perfect movie." I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. This is a good girl movie. They were, but my wife hated it.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you didn't enjoy it, but
put serious strain on my marriage, or I did. I guess is what I did. Yeah.
Oh, come on! There's so much. I mean, I enjoyed this much more than Argyle, which I thought was a much worse movie. This is like a 2-star movie, which is like bad but watchable.
But there's nothing. There's nothing schlocky enough though to be like, this is a good bad movie, which is what I was hoping. Like Ghost Rider. I was rewatching Ghost Rider today on the treadmill in the form of, this is like as if CW made Spider-Man.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which I love. Love stuff like that.
I'm watching Ghost Rider 2007 in the form of just like the 10 clips that are available on YouTube. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like filling in the blanks. But I was like, this is not a good movie, but they got shit going on here. It's like you have Nicolas Cage doing goofy stuff. You've got like a guy whipping a chain around people and turning them to ash. You ain't got nothing like that in this movie did.
No. And Ghost Rider is a better movie than this.
You know what else is even better? Ghost Rider Spirits of Vengeance. The second one.
It's not.
That
movie
awesome.
Is horrible. That
movie's awesome.
No.
Movie's fucking dope.
No.
Ghost Rider looks cool as
unwatchable.
shit. There's so many great like action moments. Like, it's a great movie. It's badass. Nicolas Cage is on point in that film. So this is my perfect thing. Remember that scene where the bad guy, he walks into like this opera and sits down next to this gal who I guess works for the NSA, right?
Yes.
And he's like holds out that guide to her, like, do you want to read the show book or whatever?
Yeah.
And she reaches for it and he like playfully grabs it away and then gives it to her, right? That was every joke in this movie. Whereas like, you ever had someone do that to you in real life and that you're just kind of like, yeah, very funny. You know what I mean? That was every fucking joke in this movie. It was like my reaction. They should have written something down.
Can I read some of the reviews that were out there? So Rolling Stone, David Fear, I'm not familiar with him, but Rolling Stone, he wrote, Madam Web isn't as bad as the somewhat botched promotional campaign might suggest. It is in fact way worse. A genuine Chernobyl level disaster that seems to get exponentially more radioactive as it goes along. This detour to one of the dustier corners of the Marvel's content farm is a dead end from start to finish.
The dusty corner of the content farm.
A bit of hyperbole there.
But the idea that it's nuclearly bad, come on, it's just kind of boring. Like that's.
I agree with the Christy Lemire review, who I'm a big fan of hers. She used to work for the Associated Press. Now she writes for RogerEbert.com. And she just basically wrote, kind of consistent with what I said. Madam Web is not the unmitigated disaster that its clunky trailer or its calendar spot in February would suggest. Still, within these oversaturated times for comic book movies, Madam Web is blissfully breezy in its pacing, which helps make it more enjoyable watch than some of the other super serious end-of-the-world fare we often see. She talks about there's being some legitimately suspenseful scenes, and basically it's like, it's okay.
By the ending, dude, I was kind of just tuned out when she's like running around and then holds up like a piece of metal. It's like, first of all,
come on, that was cool. Come on, where she's using her clairvoyant powers to like predict where the stuff is going to land on the factory roof, so they know.
Well, she does it like one time, and then like the bad guy, he's like, because the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, well, are there 3 girls going to kill this guy at the end, or what's going to happen? And then she just is like, actually, you were wrong. I was going to kill you. And I was like,
I'm honestly blanking on what happened to him at the end of the movie.
They just run around and like fireworks go off, which, by the way, I was like, wasn't this a building that burned down at the beginning?
Yes, it was.
Why are there still fireworks in it?
Well, it was too dangerous to go in to get them out. Probably.
If it was on fire, they would have all exploded at the time. But only some of them blew up, and then they just left them in there. Give me a fuck.
Did he die at the end of the movie? I can't remember.
Yeah, a giant Pepsi sign falls on him.
Oh,
He gets hit with the P or the S.
And the best review is Sam Adams from Sam Adams, nice name, from Slate. If Marvel is the Coke of superhero movies and DC is the Pepsi, Sony is the RC Cola, a passable substitute when they're out of what you really want.
Beautiful. That's tough because there was a lot of Pepsi play in this film.
A lot of Pepsi.
Hey, can I have a beer? No, enjoy this Pepsi.
I hope they at least got some the budget down from that Pepsi endorsement.
I bet they did. I bet it was 10 million. Yeah. Anything else, brother? Sorry, I got to keep it short today, but I got to get to a thing.
I don't think there's anything else left to discuss for this movie. Final recommendation is you can watch it on TV when it comes out on streaming if you want to. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't recommend going to the theater. I enjoyed it on a superficial level.
This reminds me of like the Sydney Sweeney as far as where this will sit in one of those like a bad like Saturn 3 for like Farah or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Footnote.
All right, brother. Great talking to you as always.
All right. Until next time. Hopefully we'll pick a better movie.